All right, everybody. Mid-range game is back, and today Brent and I have a lot to catch up on. We have Klay, we have the Rockets, we have trades, we have free agency, we have the draft. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to start with some bad news, and that is Klay Thompson is out for the year with an Achilles tear. Brent, what was your initial thought when you saw this?
I thought it was tragic for one because not only is it Achilles tear, but it's on the opposite leg that he had the ACL, which a lot of people tend to compensate, overcompensate. And trainers do a really good job in modern medicine to try to keep players from overcompensating on their other legs. But to have a major injury on your knee on one leg and then the Achilles on the other, those are like, those used to be one of those used to be career enders,
Right.
10, 15 years ago. He has both. So the good thing is Clay is more of a when he puts the ball on the floor, generally he's going to stop eventually and shoot the ball. He doesn't do a whole bunch of, cutting hard, but it's going to be a hard recovery for him, man, mentally as well. And the Warriors are going to suffer in the meantime because they just traded for Kelly Oubre to try to bring in some more offense. They got Wiggins, so they're losing KD's defense. They lost Clay's defense, and neither Wiggins or Oubre are known for being defensive players. And Steph has a tendency to get injured himself if he has to take on a real heavy load to be like the main guy, which he's the main guy, but he doesn't have to do everything. But now he has to be that. And so you hope that he doesn't get hurt while Clay's hurt. And,
Right. If you're
uh,
a basketball fan, the bottom line is you should be disappointed. I tend to just root for good basketball, and the Warriors are great basketball. I mean, let's
right.
be honest, with KD on the team, that was probably the best team that we've ever seen, period. You could argue with the Jordan Bulls, but let's be honest, that was one of the most devastating lineups ever.
Crazy.
With Clay going down, it just makes this year less interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like it just does. And it's really unfortunate. Clay is one of the all time great shooters in the league, but he's also a really good defensive player. Mentally, when you said that, I thought too, just coming back from a season long injury has to be mentally taxing enough. And now to have another one, this one I think is more career threatening. I know the doctors come out and say, yeah, he'll make a full recovery, but let's be honest, we've never seen a basketball player truly come back to 100% after an Achilles tear. Will
Right.
Klay Thompson be able to shoot? Yeah, he'll be able to shoot when he's 80, right? So will KD.
Right.
The
Right.
problem is they're not going to be the same defensive players that they were,
Right.
and it just sucks for basketball fans. Like they
Yeah.
were probably going to be a top 3, 4 seed in the West. Now they're going to be lucky if they get in. You mentioned the pressure that this puts on Steph, Draymond, Wiggins. They bring in Oubre, all these things. And financially, it's terrible for the Warriors. I'm glad Clay is going to get his money regardless. He earned that max contract,
Right.
but it's this probably all but ends that dynasty as we know it. And it just makes the West less interesting. And it just sucks for basketball fans in general. I I when I heard the news, I just kind of like put my head down like crap, dude. This
Yeah.
sucks cuz they could have definitely given an entertaining series with the Clippers, with Denver, and with the champion Lakers. It would have been
Yeah.
fun to see that. Now you're going to have to see Steph try to go, MVP on his own cuz Wiggins is Wiggins.
Yeah.
He's a contract that nobody wants. We'll see what he could do. He's a decent player, right? It's just the
Right.
contract that is attached to him. What do you think this means for this season?
I believe now. I know some people think that they can still make the playoffs, and if Steph stays healthy, he's dangerous. And but you're asking a lot to get from Wiggins. We know Kelly Oubre can score, but he gets injured sometimes as well, and that's what he does is score. What they haven't been focusing on is the Warriors defense. And remember the rat race at the end of the bubble regular season, how the West, well, at the end of the regular season before the bubble even started, how the West at the bottom, probably like six down, was
It's a
tight.
gauntlet.
Yeah, it's tight. And I wonder if the Warriors can come out ahead if they're in the middle of that, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams in the West, because those guys were battling it out. And I don't know if the Warriors can actually, with the squad they got, unless Wiggins just fulfills all of the potential that everyone has always been putting on him. That's going to be the hard part,
I can't think of a lot of players this far into their career that all of a sudden change. Now,
Yeah,
guys have good seasons, which he started out having a good season last year, if we remember correctly. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. And it's
yeah,
unfortunate because the Warriors have been a pretty well run organization. They've drafted, you got to remember, their initial core were all drafted: Klay,
right,
Steph, Draymond. They brought in Iggy, smart move. They brought in
right.
Livingston. They just ran the organization really well. I wonder if they see Klay with this injury and they're like, all right, now we got to start thinking 4 years from now,
Right.
5 years from now. And they drafted Weissman. They didn't, quote unquote, panic, which I don't know what a panic move would have been, drafting, this,
LaMelo ball
I
or something. I don't
guess.
know.
But I mean, this draft, everybody agrees. Everybody that watches college basketball, which I don't, it seems like all the experts agree that the top pick in this year's draft might not even be a top 7 pick next year. So,
Right.
all in all, this may have been a deep draft, but not a great draft. So,
Right.
do they start to look to the future? Does this mean Draymond becomes expendable? Like, do they look to move off of Draymond? We already
They
know
may.
they may look to move Wiggins. So it just stinks because you have an all-time great player who will probably never be the same. Always will
Mhm.
be able to shoot, but won't be the same defensively. And it's just bad for NBA fans.
Yeah, I mean, they had to punt last year in hopes that they'd be full strength this year. And if they're trying to get rid of Wiggins and he's not a part of their future, that means they probably have to punt again. It's because what you need Wiggins to do is pull a CP3. When remember when CP3 got traded with Russ, when he went to OKC, everybody's like, OKC is never getting rid of Chris Paul's contract because he's not, that contract is not tradable.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back, and the amnesia that the NBA gets sometimes when a player has one good season helps. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, similar. I mean, a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's under potential as well, but he had that good season with the Nets,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved to Golden State, and they're able to move him as well. So Wiggins needs one of those like breakout seasons that make his contract worth it to other teams, and you only need one
Right.
really, really good season, but
Well, he's on a
easier
max
said than done.
contract, and he was probably in the perfect position to be at his best this year if Klay was healthy, because that makes him the third option
Right,
on a winning team, right?
right,
Not a cellar dweller like the Wolves, right? Like, this is a
right.
winning organization. You're the third option. We just need you to go play D and
Hmm.
cut to the hoop, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's an overpaid Kyle Kuzma. Like that's what they're trying to make him into.
Exactly.
So it's really unfortunate that we have to start out an NBA season like this, but with the quick turnaround from the bubble, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more injuries this upcoming season.